All right, what's up, good people? It's your boys, the Beards of One. We're back with another review. You got myself, Thick Nick Fury. You got Fat Broken Rambo, Scorched Earth, and behind the scenes we got Captain Jack. Today we're gonna take you back. We're gonna take you back to 1987 to planes, trains, and automobiles. So
Hell
gas up
yeah.
that Chrysler LeBaron.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh, let's go,
Um,
baby.
but
with the wood panel doors.
before we get into it, man, hey, Scorched Earth, you got a little something for the people. Let the people know what's going on with you out there.
Oh, yeah. So, hey guys, Scorch here. So, just a shameless plug for another YouTube channel I have on the side. It's C Grills with a Z, all one word, underscore presents. So, really, what I'm doing over there right now is just starting to do some barbecue stuff, out on the grill, kind of showing you guys what I'm cooking, how I'm doing it, maybe some of the prep and then the finished product. It is a work in progress to be sure. I think I have seven or so videos up there that are shorts that I did with my phone, kind of impromptu in the middle of the night. So feel free to go and just bash the crap out of the quality. It's definitely not at the level of our channel here, that's for sure. But yeah, if you guys are interested in barbecue stuff, feel free to check me out, man. That's all I got.
Oh, I've sampled it. I'm telling you, people out there, he knows what he's doing. Like
He
he
does.
gets on that grill. The dude's got skills, so it's not even about the quality of the film and the quality of the food, bro.
We
I
all
just
start
go and
somewhere, baby.
I just
You
go and
know,
buy it from Mission Barbecue and throw it in. No, just not sponsored by Mission Barbecue.
right? Oh yeah, no.
You
All
like pick
right,
it up and just throw it in your grill and make it look like you're cooking the shit.
Yeah, but look at this, guys. I did all this in 15 minutes.
all right.
I don't know what you guys are doing.
Oh man, but man, hey, man, we're all for it here, man. Yeah, man. So again, we're going back a little bit, back to the '80s. It's a great time for movies. Great, a different era for sure.
Oh yeah.
Man, watching this movie, man, it made me understand and realize how much things have changed, and just in the general like transportation, communication, everything.
PSA.
The way things have changed, it's
Yeah.
hilarious. But man, if you guys haven't seen this movie, I mean, definitely take some time to watch it. It's a classic '80s comedy with Steve Martin, the late great John Candy, and a host of other people. I mean, you got I call it a cameo with Kevin Bacon. I'm like, oh
Oh
man, he
yeah.
was he was actually in the movie, but for a very small scene. So
Good old Quicksilver.
it's a great, yeah,
Right?
great movie to watch, man.
Absolutely.
So what's up, man? Where you want to start? You want to start us off, Fat Broken Rainbow?
Yeah, man. Hey guys, welcome to tonight's episode, man. I'm glad to be here. So Thanksgiving's right around the corner. So and this was kind of like my pitch to the guys. And I think this is actually one of the funniest movies that John Hughes ever directed. So John Hughes is famous for like stuff like Uncle Buck and oh man, 16 Candles,
I mean,
Breakfast
all the
Club. Like
'80s.
he basically like he was 80s representation on film
Yeah.
as a director. And the the always great Steve Martin. Big fan. I mean, you guys have seen him only in the what is it? Only Murders in the Building on Hulu. Like he's at the end of his career now. Obviously because he's getting up there in age, but like man, he had this whole other world back in the day, and this is one of his great ones because he kind of plays it straight, tight comedy, where he's the straight guy, so to speak. And he's just phenomenal to see him kind of take the turn where instead of like say like the jerk or the man with two brains or something like that, he definitely plays the straight man in the comedy, and it pays off because it shows his acting range. It's really fantastic. And near and dear to my heart, man, John Candy. Grew up with this guy, absolutely
Oh
loved him
yeah.
ever since Stripes. Man, he's
Barf.
yeah, Spaceballs, Uncle Buck, man, Great Outdoors. Fuck you, Canadian Bacon. That's awesome. I don't care what any of the critics say. Um, we don't need to talk about Wagons East. But hey, man, he was just like an everyman's everyman, man. Like the dude was just awesome. Every time you saw him in something, it just looked like he was having a good, fun time. He's the '80s version of Chris Farley, and Chris Farley is the '90s. So like we're still dating ourselves here, but
Yeah, yeah.
but basically it's kind of like the Odd Couple meets a road trip, right? So like you've got
Yeah.
one guy who's a staunch businessman, really uptight, proper and prim suits, everything else. The dad business guy. I think he's in New York City trying to get back to Chicago for Thanksgiving. And his cross paths with John Candy. John Candy's kind of like this walking catastrophe on on wheels, man. He's dragging this fucking trunk around everywhere
Selling
he
shower
goes.
curtain
They're,
rings.
they're helium, so they're lighter. It's just awesome, man. So basically, what ends up happening is these guys John Candy crossed paths with him in the very beginning, steals a cab from him in New York City after a knockdown, drag out fight through the streets of New York City against Kevin Bacon, of all people, who I don't think actually has a speaking line in this movie.
No.
Nope.
And John Candy robs him of the other cab. And basically, he meets him up at the airport. They kind of have a butting of the head, so to speak. Steve Martin wants nothing to do with this guy. He's fucking annoying as all hell. And that's where it kind of just starts growing and growing and growing. And these guys are joining the hitman. They are on a mission from God to get back to Chicago. No, you're not watching Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
But it's just at the end of the movie, like it's heartwarming, man. Like to me, like there's a sadness in this movie that you just can't escape. And at the
Right.
end,
Yeah.
the end is just like so hopeful and it brings you back and be like, hey man, like people can be together for the holidays. To me, it was a beautiful ending. And they nailed it well. And yeah, some of the comedy is not going to land as well today because of society has matured. And that's just how I'll put it. But like at the end of the day, this is a movie made in the 80s. It's rated R. It does have some foul language. I don't think it has any nudity, no real violence.
No.
No.
And the language is actually kind of like contained to like one specific scene, if I recall
Oh,
accurately.
but it was
Well,
one hell of a scene.
But when it flies,
well,
it flies, man. It's good.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
and the only reason why it became rated R, anecdotally, was because I think Steve Martin said the F word. I think it was like 7 times straight. So it was the F word that made it rated R. If it wasn't for that, it was going to be
Yeah.
PG-13.
Pretty tame. Yeah. Other than that, it was pretty tame. But like you said, it just watching the whole transition, right? So the transition of trying to get out of the meeting to the airport and get home, and
Yeah.
how everything that could go wrong did go wrong, right? So he can't even get a cab. And, one of the funniest things about the whole cab scene was he tries to reason with a guy to get his cab. I'll give you $10. And the
Oh
guy's like,
yeah.
no, I'll take 50. I said, what, 50? You're robbing me. I'm like, dude, you can't get a cab or an Uber for $50 at the airport. I don't care where you are in America, right? So that was a great deal back then. But he's like, hey, if a guy will pay 50, he'll pay 75. You
Yeah.
have no idea what
He
you'll
was such a
pay
dick,
to
too.
get to the airport today, right? Like, so it's a timely movie that just kind of shows you the transition of things and how we've like kind of, I guess you'll call it, progressed as a society. But now you have instant connection. On your phone, you have connection to home, you have connection to the airlines. You can check and see and change stuff. Here, it was literally footwork. Like I've never seen anybody run as much as I did in this movie outside of like Chariots of Fire. Like, I mean, Steve Martin
Chariots
was
of
running
Fire. Holy
all over the
shit,
city.
man.
Man, you're
I'm
dating
just
yourself.
saying, man, right? A little bit.
They just needed a
But
beach scene.
Dun, dun, dun,
but it
dun,
was
dun, dun.
hilarious. It was just funny to watch the interaction, to watch him himself like trying to get on his cab, all the different things that transpired after that as well. So
Yeah.
John Candy just kind of getting in the way of everything, right? And I'm not even sure if he was intended to go to Chicago,
No,
right?
so
I don't
yeah,
think
I don't
so.
think he was. And he was so non-assuming and polite, but it still ended up being a pain just by happenstance, because they ended up having to travel together just to get from, one point to another point. And John Candy essentially felt so bad about taking his cab and then causing all the drama for him trying to get back. He felt obligated to help him get back. And meanwhile, you find out like in that kind of a last train station piece when he got off the train to come back to see John Candy,
Oh
see if he was
man.
there. He started remembering all the trauma, all the,
Yeah, he's
the
like,
car catching on fire
I
and
haven't been
only
home in
seeing,
years.
yeah, and he
Yeah.
remembered that
Ugh.
conversation and then, finding out that to me was the most heart-wrenching part of it. But you could tell that he was generally just a good guy and, he had no place to go.
Yeah.
So he just felt obligated after everything he did to him. But yeah, it was just phenomenal. Those two together in that movie were, a pair. That was perfect. It was kind of like Richard Pryor and
Gene Wilder.
Gene Wilder in theirs, where like they
Seen
just
him here.
match up
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And how many they did, three,
Oh
four movies
man.
together.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was it was phenomenal. And that, the trips from calling his friend and oh yeah, he's gonna send his cousin to come
Yeah.
pick us
The
up.
cab driver.
He's like, he
Oh
tells
yeah.
his wife to get out the car to get them bags, and she's holding the baby. She's like,
The
no, no,
baby
you don't
came
have to
out
do that.
sideways. She didn't even say a word.
Yeah,
I
she's
was like,
strong.
what?
She gets
He's
out and
reaching,
spits
he's
out some
reaching for the
dip.
glove, and he thinks the dog is frozen dead.
Oh
Yeah, I
man,
mean,
like
honestly, man, like for plot wise, you can't beat this movie because everything is
Yeah,
just a plot device after a plot device. But it didn't matter because like you get to watch two legends of comedy pretty much at the time, and especially nowadays, especially for our generation. They just bounced off each other so well, man. And there comes a point where like Steve Martin kind of accepts his fate and he's kind of willing to like team up with him, and like everything gets kind of gets uplifted and they start forming plans and shit like that. And then yeah, like Steve Martin has this meltdown moment at the end when I forget. I think they're coming out of like Wichita. They go from like New York City to like fucking Wichita to try to get back to Chicago, all this other goofy shit. And but it's still that ending still echoes with me, man. Because the end of the movie, it's just like a heartfelt holiday movie, and you're like, hey, man, you don't have to be alone at the holidays. You lost your wife, blah blah blah. And then the music immediately uplifts, and you see Steve Martin finally comes to John Candy's side and helps him lift the trunk, and they get home. I mean, aside from the
yeah,
really kind of like awkward pause at the end where John Candy and like Steve Martin's wife are looking at each other, you're just
yeah.
like,
I was like,
yeah, like
it,
oh,
what?
maybe
Hold
that's
on,
just like an 80s-ism or like,
what is going
like,
on?
yeah, it's just
right.
kind of weird. Like they lingered on each other a little bit too long.
Yeah,
But
it
hey,
was odd. It was odd.
80s are
Uh,
weird, man.
and let's just say, like this is one of those situations where as a husband, right? Like if you have a situation where, oh man, all right, yeah, baby, there's a layover in Kansas. Wait, why are you in Kansas? Like, like you already automatically have these questions where they say like, like it's stranger than fiction. So it's like if I tell her the truth about what happened, right? Like think about it. If he didn't bring, John Candy character back with him, he
Bring home
had
the
to
proof.
explain to his wife, listen, let me tell you what happened. I was in the car burned up on the side of the highway. We drove a car that was burned up to a hotel, and at the hotel, like you have to explain this, and it's like there's no way she's gonna believe me. And he couldn't contact her because this is not, 2024 where you have cell phones and all that other stuff. You had to pay for a dial phone in the hotel rooms. I'm like, yeah, he had no money, of course, because he has like what one credit card, so there's no Apple Pay.
Well, yeah,
Like
because he got
he
robbed too,
Dude,
didn't
burnt
he?
up, right? They got
all
robbed,
the
Yeah.
yeah,
burnt up his credit cards, and I'm like, dude, like that is
dude.
just so tragic. And it's like it's the absolute truth. But who would believe that? Who today could convince their wives that this really happened?
Oh yeah,
And like if you
dude.
can't contact them, it's like, oh, forget it. They're they're
The
they're
lock.
their mind's going wild. Like, oh God, no, she's not gonna believe. And I was sitting there the whole time. There's no way she's gonna believe this. So he
Nope.
kind of, for self-preservation, had to go get John. I don't know. I'm going back to the train station, bro. 'Cause I need witnesses. I
I
need
need
somebody to
somebody.
verify that this happened. But it was
Yeah,
and like I said, at the end, you realize that John's character with Dell, was it?
Yeah. Yep. Dell.
Realized that he had lost his wife like 8 years ago. And
yep.
He's
it
just like systematically
was.
traveling nonstop because
Right, and
I think he
like
doesn't
you
want
said,
to
had
go
never been
home.
Yeah,
home because home was his wife. So essentially he had lost home 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And
but dude,
I
like
don't really know
so.
what was in the trunk. I don't want to say it was a whole bunch of shower curtain rings,
No,
but I'm like,
I'm
what
willing to
was
bet
in it?
it was probably
The
like
remains of
all
his
of
dead
his, yeah,
wife.
like his toiletries, some clothes, right?
But he
Because he
mentioned he
did
brings his
change.
own pillow.
Yeah, he had
Right.
his own
Yeah.
pillow, and then probably those rings as well. And I mean, I'll give it to him. Besides being a nice guy, he knew how to make money, right? He was like, "Yeah, we need
Oh
money."
yeah.
He was selling them
Oh,
as earrings. He was selling. He was
and
like,
they
"Oh
were
yeah,
eating it
you
up.
guys, how old are you guys? 16? You look 18 with those earrings." Like, so the girls were like, "Yeah, we look grown up."
Right.
Like he
Yeah, but you
was,
couldn't Google shit back then either.
Oh,
So like
oh
you couldn't
yeah,
have
right.
that kind of bullshit.
so he was,
Exactly.
yeah,
Believe in
these were
everything.
signed by whatever, I don't know, David Lee Roth, whatever it was. And yeah, it was just amazing, dude. And they truly did live up to the title of the movie, right? They were on the planes. They ended up on the train. I mean, they ended up in everything, trucks and everything else, but they were on the train together and every type of dang gone automobile, even if it was burned up. And then when the cop pulled him over, was like, yeah, driver license registration. You realize how fast you were going? He's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I can believe that. But the speedometer's melted. But the radio still works. Yeah, like it's good quality. And he's still trying to
Chrysler
get out of it.
Baron.
Like, yeah,
Chrysler Baron.
you can't drive this. He's like, oh no,
Still,
yeah, it's still drivable.
still absolutely the best air piano scene on cinema today. Dude, I remember when
Oh
Family
yeah.
Guy spoofed that scene and they did like the Return of the Jedi like spoof and like John Candy's in the like the AT-AT and he's like doo-doo-doo, and he's smoking the cigarette and the Ewoks coming and kill them all.
Oh, let's talk about the smoking. Oh, everywhere. You can smoke everywhere. In the
Oh yeah.
car, in the plane. Like
Restaurants.
it,
I
Every
remember those days when they had the
Oh,
ashtray and people were smoking on planes. And
yep.
dude, the lock on the rotary phone. I remember when they had those in some places.
I
oh,
It
remember
was
the
just,
vibrating bed.
oh yeah,
oh yeah,
25 cents for what, like 5 minutes? Be like,
gonorrhea
dude.
factories.
sorry, man, I had
Those
the beer on the bed and
motels.
I turned the vibrator on and the beer exploded everywhere.
Yeah. So he's sleeping in wet beer, and old boy's like, I share my pillow, but it's it's
Those aren't
hypoallergenic.
pillows.
Oh, he was like, why is your
Oh,
hand around? Where's your other
Oh,
hand?
between the
Pillows.
pillows. Those are pillows. Oh,
Yeah.
it's hilarious, man. The innuendos and the back and
oh yeah.
forth and the amount of money this must have cost them. I mean, you wrecked a car, you burned a car up, you ran through a hotel, like you ran through the front of the motel and leaving. So I'm like, oh man, they might have gotten away
Oh,
with that one because there's
yeah.
no
Back
way they
then,
track them.
you could drive
Like, there's
off.
no way they could track them, right? So he just
That's
drove
it.
off. They got away with that one.
He was like,
No
come on,
license
let's go.
plates, no cameras. Oh, you gotta love the '80s. Got away with crime. Um, but man, like I said, other than that, man, this is one of those staple '80s movies. Steve Martin's just timeless. Uh, he looks 65 for like this entire career. Uh,
Oh yeah, since he was a kid,
like
since he was
I
in
Yeah,
his
he
swear,
is.
20s.
man. Like you can't. It's hard to time frame his movie because, okay, yeah, he looks just as old in that one as he did in this one. But I will say just on a caveat, one of my absolute favorite Steve Martin roles is the dentist in Little Shop of Horrors. Oh my dude, I absolutely like I live for that movie for that reason. Like Steve Martin was just hilarious in that role. And that's one of my favorite movies, man. Rick Moranis, Steve Martin,
Oh yeah, can't beat it.
Dib Belushi, all that. Uh just a fun movie. But this one was great. Like I said, John Candy, man, we actually missed out on getting a lot more from him, unfortunately. I think he was
Oh
taken
yeah.
way too soon.
Oh yeah.
But just one of those movies, it kind of makes you have an understanding of what people might be going through. So I
Makes
think
you feel good.
it makes you want to, kind of,
Help.
you know, kind of calmly address the situation, try to understand, try to be more empathetic of people and what they could possibly be dealing with. And someone might be annoying for a reason. They're looking to talk to somebody, talk to them, man. I mean, it may be an inconvenience, but talk to them. You never know what that could do for that person. You never know what that person's intent may be, leaving their time with you. So leave them on a good note if you can. Try to kind of be understanding of people. And within reason. I mean, let's do
Yeah.
boundaries, right? There are
Especially
boundaries.
anybody with a trunk and they're
Right.
selling shower curtain
That could
rings.
be your body in that trunk. So you
Yeah.
want to be nice to those people.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
what if
yeah,
he
you might
was
want
a
to be careful.
serial killer?
Yeah, that would have been a
Right.
great spin, right? They
Oh,
could redo it that way.
but can we just talk about really
The
quick how
truth
Steve
behind it.
Martin's character slept through that entire car ride? Like they were almost killed, like on the
Oh,
highway
they
by two
spun out.
trucks. I mean, John Candy managed to get both arms stuck behind the seat. That was hilarious. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? He
Well,
was
he was
he was
awake.
literally playing with their lives the
He was
whole
awake
ride.
with the truck part.
Yeah, because the ladies were trying to tell him, you're
Yeah.
on the wrong. Yeah, the husband and the wife are trying to tell
And
you,
they
you're
were
on the
like,
wrong side.
"Oh yeah, you're drinking." Just like, yeah.
Right. But before that, man, he was completely out of it. Oh, that's
Yeah.
hilarious, man.
Great
Yeah,
movie.
only
They
in
did
the
a good
Oh
80s.
job.
yeah.
Should have checked to see how much they spent on that movie because it probably wasn't much.
Yeah. There's no CGI, that's for sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Probably
about
close
the
to
best
one
that they
price of
got was when
America.
they made them when they thought they were gonna die between the trucks and they kind of flashed and they were like skeletons and then John
Yeah,
Right.
Candy was like the devil, when he looked at him. Yeah, it was pretty hilarious. But that was about it.
Yeah, man. Good film. Good pick. Good pick. I like that.
Great
yeah. So
movie.
you want to guys launch into to our recommendations for the week?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
let's go,
Yeah.
man. Let's go.
All
Let's
right.
stay in
All
that
right.
genre.
I'll take lead. All right. So in the vein of this film, I kind of went with a Thanksgiving holiday road trip kind of movie. Just so happened to be directed by John Hughes as well. And I'm talking Dutch, 1991. Ed O'Neill, fresh off of a hiatus from Married with Children. You guys ever check that out? For the younger audience, we're talking the grandfather in Modern Family. It's a fantastic film. So basically, he's married to a single mother. They're an affluent couple. He owns like a construction company, blue collar guy, worked his way up to being owner of the company or starting his own firm. And his fiance slash wife asks him to go pick up his stepson basically from private boarding school. And the father is actually Shooter McGavin, Chris McDonald from Happy Gilmore. And basically, it's like the kid's kind of snobby. Ed O'Neill's a blue collar guy. and they're trying to figure out how this relationship dynamic's going to work. And just kind of like Home Alone, Uncle Buck, it's like one of those, they're going to struggle and then they're going to come together at the end. They're all going to be a happy family. But it's a nice movie, man. It's a heartwarming movie. It's awesome to see Ed O'Neill on the big screen because back in the 90s, he was only on Married with Children for the most part in small bit parts. But this is all him, and it's a John Hughes film. So this complements Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You can check it out on Tubi, man. It came out in 91. And can't recommend it enough. And it is a Thanksgiving movie, so they're trying to get home for Thanksgiving.
Good pick, man.
Oh,
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely one of the greats. I mean, Ed O'Neill,
Oh,
one
Yeah,
of the
dude.
greats, man. Like, I mean, Married with Children would not be made today, like in today's
oh,
current
absolutely not.
climate.
No
But
way.
I mean, every time I watch it, dude, it's just every episode, and I've seen it 1,000 times. It gets a new laugh out of me every time. Married with Children was great, but yeah,
Do you know
Dutch
that
was
guy
great.
is actually like I think he's
A
a triple
blue
black
belt?
belt.
Oh, is it? Oh, I
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
thought
a
he
he's
was
black
a
belt.
blue.
Yeah, I don't know the black belt.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I've seen some of his tournament
Jiu-jitsu.
films on YouTube, man. He's actually pretty impressive. I love finding out stuff like that, man. I never knew that Al Bundy was a black belt, and I think it's badass.
And scored 4 touchdowns in one game.
That's right.
Um,
Poke
all
high.
right. All right, Scorch, what you got, bro?
So I got the Three Amigos. So I'm staying in
Oh,
the vein of at
oh,
least
so
Steve
good.
Martin. Yeah, one of my all-time favorites, man. That was
Oh,
a great one. So that's Steve
El
Martin, Chevy
Guapo.
Chase. El Guapo. Would you say you have a plethora?
A
With
plethora of hiding places.
see a plethora. Yeah, Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, Martin Short. So that was 80, what, seven, I think? 86, 87. Great flick. So they're essentially three actors that were kind of convinced to go down to Mexico to perform, right, shoot on screen, and essentially what they would be doing, dressed up as, you know, essentially a mariachi band. But they'd go down there, yeah, go down there, and they're
You're
supposed
not
to
wrong.
fight these bandits, right, as a part of the movie thing, right? They're all actors. They're like,
Yep.
sure, we'll go down to Mexico. They get down to this village. Turns out that whole thing is real. There's really some bandits down there harassing villagers, and with those three together, like the comedy is just insane, especially for the era. Just great. And
Oh yeah.
eventually, what they end up doing is they teach the villagers how to kind of fight back. They give them that extra little push, to put them in a that mental state to say, you know what, yeah, we're gonna actually resist these bandits. And even at some point, they dressed like the entire village up as the Three Amigos. So now, the bandits are like, good God, these guys are everywhere. But great flick, another great '80s flick. You guys really need to check that out.
Oh,
Again,
it's
that's
so good.
Steve Martin, Martin
Such a great
Short,
movie.
Chevy Chase, and Steve Martin, Martin Short. You mentioned it earlier. What is it? Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah.
They're in there. They're back
Good show,
together
man.
again. One could say that's almost a modern day Three Amigos with them. It's those two, and then what's the singer now
Selena
actress?
Gomez.
Selena, yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and all three of them wrote that new show. It's not bad. My wife and I watch it. It's interesting, but those guys still have that same comedy, like that's ingrained in them how they act. So yeah, it might be a little dated for the younger crowd with regards to the comedy and how it goes back and forth, but still a good show. But yeah, you guys should check that movie out.
Oh yeah. Highly
Good
recommend that
pick,
one.
man. Good
Yep.
pick.
Yep.
All right, man. I'm gonna finish this off, man. I'm gonna
And
stay in the
strong.
80s, and we're gonna
Oh
go on
shit,
vacation.
baby.
'80s, baby.
National Lampoon's Vacation, bro. We're gonna
Oh
start with the first
yes,
one,
Oh,
and
yes.
it's classic 80s like comedy. You got Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, John Candy is also in this movie.
yep.
You got Eugene Levy, Anthony Michael Hall. I mean, this is one of those. Hey, we're just trying to get the kids to the amusement park, right? Well, what could
Mm,
possibly go wrong except everything, right?
everything.
So it's just like Christy Brinkley, like that whole thing with him seeing Christy Brinkley trying to
The
like show
Lambo.
off, dude. It's just like slapstick family comedy. It just has you laughing from all the different areas where they have to stop and the things that happen along the road, and when they end up in the urban area, like, oh, roll them up, like the turn around, like roll the windows up, and like, oh yeah, the bad part of the neighborhood, right? So it's just one of those
Where
you
were they
enjoy to
going?
see where it goes.
They were going to
What's that?
Wally World or
Wally
something,
World
right?
out in
Right, Wally
California.
World. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yep. So it was just one of those. It makes you appreciate road trips, right? I don't think we get to do them much anymore, right? Like you don't really get those big family road trips where everybody loads
Yeah.
up in the station wagon. Station wagon was a car, sort of like a minivan, but it was a car with wood paneling normally on the side. It's not a very cool vehicle, but if you get a
It's more
chance,
more like a
you'll probably
hearse.
find one at a museum, right? Like, I'm just saying.
It's a
But
family
yeah,
hearse.
a
but
family hearse, right?
indestructible.
But everyone's alive but dead inside, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was just a fun movie to watch, man. Watching him go through the travels and kind of offhand flirting with this beautiful woman that just seems to be like almost like haunting him throughout this trip, right? And it's just like I think we've all been there, as a dad, you're out there with your family. It's like, okay, you're kind of looking around like, okay, nope, I'm a family man. We're here on vacation. This is what we're here for, right? And it's just a good, wholehearted movie, man. It's a lot of fun to watch. Like again, Chevy Chase was great in it. Beverly D'Angelo, man, like she's awesome in this movie, and everyone just kind of adds to it, right? So you got a host of comedy people from the '80s, like Eugene Levy is in it. It's just a fun movie to watch. So if you want something to kind of get into, it's on Paramount Plus.
Mhm.
And they went on to make, obviously a lot more of these European vacation and Christmas vacation, all type
Oh,
stuff, and
Christmas.
Holiday Road. Everybody knows that
Actually,
song.
have you
Randy
seen
Quaid.
have you seen the
Yeah.
remake with
I
Ed
have
Helms?
not. I refused.
I would argue give it a shot because Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo cameo.
Oh,
So
okay, there you
it's
go.
it's Griswold's son. What was his name? Anyways, whatever his name was, Ed Helms plays him growing up. Christina Applegate plays his wife. It's
Okay, I
raunchy,
think I
man.
did hear about that. Yeah, I didn't watch it, but
It's
I
like
did hear about it.
it's kind of
Yeah.
like Hangover raunchy, but those two pop up at the end, and it's really kind of nice. They still have the station wagon, and I've grown to love that one as kind of like a legacy sequel. Fantastic too. It's
Yeah.
great. It's great in its
Gotta
own
love the
way.
'80s.
Nothing beats the original Vacation, man. But like, it's still
Yeah.
pretty good,
Right, right.
Yeah, that whole
So,
chain of movies was just amazing. I
except for
I loved
Vegas.
watching.
I just won't watch Vegas ever again. But
No. I'm talking about like the Griswolds whole like
yeah,
their whole
me
oh
too.
yeah, there's always one. Yeah, Vegas. Yeah, that's like the one you want to forget about. But they
Yeah,
always
good. I
there's
didn't see that
always
one.
one in there,
So
that's
right? There's always
terrible.
one in there. Like, okay, you could have done
yeah,
without that
scratch
one,
that
but
then.
yeah,
Yeah,
The one
they
I
get
didn't
back on
see
track,
obviously wasn't good.
don't worry, you
So
didn't miss nothing. They go to Vegas at the end.
right?
oh my gosh. Look, kids, Big Ben. I love those movies.
Let's roll into this poll, man.
Yeah, man. All right, so last show we had a poll. It was kind of a bonus poll, and it kind of came up again one of the '80s action shows, and
Yeah.
we had a little crossroads of hey, which was the bigger one? Greatest American Hero or Simon and Simon, and the people have spoken with 57% of the vote. Drum roll, please. The Greatest American Hero is the champ between
Dude,
that and Simon, two great shows,
I can't.
memorable shows. But I mean,
No,
people
when you
came
have a
out
theme
swinging.
song that,
how is
I'm
Simon
sure
and
it won
Simon?
Grammys. I'm pretty sure
How is
that
Simon and
theme
Simon
song
a
won
top two
Grammys.
contender? No way.
Well, think about it, man. How did A-Team not make it, right? So like
Right.
people came out, man. They came out swinging on this one for sure. Kind of like that last one where it was like, wow, we had a lot of
Yeah,
interaction.
21
Like
Jump
this
Street.
was
Yeah, I
back
don't.
and forth. It was like, yeah,
Yeah.
hey, Greatest American Hero had it for a minute. 5 minutes later, Simon and Simon had it. Then back and forth, and it's still pretty tight. I'd say, it's probably a
Mm.
matter of a couple of votes, a difference, because of how close the percentage is. So yeah, there are people coming out for it, but I don't know. I mean, I loved both of them, and yeah, I'm happy to see Greatest American Hero taking home. To be honest,
That theme
I'm
song is
mediocrely
90%
pleased.
of that vote. The theme
what's
song
that?
is just fantastic. Like I
Oh yeah, the
literally
theme
bought
song
it on
is the thing
iTunes.
that
Like,
seals it. I just
yeah.
don't understand how Simon and Simon made it to the top two. Like, really?
Uh-uh.
Dude, hey,
Fucking Gerald
It's a
McGinty
big
over a fucking
world
A
out
team?
there,
Are you
right?
kidding me?
There's a
Yeah,
big
this is
world out
horse
there.
shit, man.
what was it? Hey, what did you say last time, Nick? It was you got to have a car. You got to have like, dude, those guys
Right?
they had a couple of cars. They had
Uh-huh.
boats, right? You had personalities. Arguably, they did good acting in that show for the type of thing it was, and they had a theme song. So like they kind of had the I think that was like the trifecta. You
Yeah, I
say
don't
like a
even
good
remember
theme
their theme
song.
song.
Oh yeah, wait.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, regardless, they had kind of that trifecta of things I think that you mentioned before for the others. Like you got to have a car in it, you
And
got
then
to have
personalities, yeah, those
yeah, so
characters.
yeah, and they were a little older, right? But I think maybe it was the private
Major
investigator
Dad.
angle. What's that?
Yeah, could have been.
It's Joe McGinty from Major Dad as Simon, or one of the Simons. I forget which one he plays.
Yeah.
Oh, dear, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, he was actually a real Marine officer too.
Yeah. All right. So, all right, guys. I guess we've wrapped this up in a nice little bow. Again, thank you guys for joining us. This is the 80s version of, Badass TV from Beards of War. And we're gonna have more, guys, because this is what we love.
Yeah.
We love movies that we enjoy. So it's not always gonna be a current movie, because sometimes the current movies that come out just aren't very good. They don't measure up
They
sometimes.
suck.
Most
We're,
times,
we're,
right?
we're
Right
all right
about
going
now.
back in the Wayback Machine. Okay,
Oh,
we've been there, we've done it,
goodness.
and we like what we like. So again, if you guys have anything you guys want to comment, you guys want to suggest, subscribe, man. Let us know in the comments. We are responsive. We appreciate you guys when you come out. We appreciate you guys for supporting the channel, and we just want to do more. So we do this because we love it. So from Thick Nick Fury, take care.
Fat Broken Rainbow.
It's scorched. I'm out of here, guys.